The sky burned orange and red as another explosion lit up the horizon. Sergeant Ho pressed his back against the broken wall and tried to catch his breath. His unit had been scattered during the attack, and now he was alone in this ruined city on a planet far from Earth. The war between humans and the Empire had lasted 3 years. Nobody remembered why it started anymore. All Ho knew was that he had to survive until morning when the rescue ships would arrive. He checked his rifle and counted his bullets. 7 rounds left. Not good. The sounds of battle had moved to the east, giving him a small window of peace. He needed to find shelter and wait. That was when he saw the ship. It came down from the clouds like a falling star, trailing smoke and fire. The vessel was small and elegant, nothing like the ugly warships he had seen before. It crashed into the ground about 200 meters away, sending dirt and rocks flying into the air. Ho knew he should stay hidden. He knew that approaching an enemy ship was dangerous and stupid, but something pulled him forward. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the strange feeling in his chest that told him this was important. He moved carefully through the ruins, keeping low and watching for enemies. The crashed ship had torn a long path through the ground before stopping against a pile of rubble. Up close, he could see that it was beautiful despite the damage. The metal was silver and smooth, covered in patterns that looked like flowing water. A door on the side of the ship had been torn open. Smoke poured out from inside. Ho raised his rifle and approached slowly. Inside the ship, everything was dark except for a few flickering lights. The air smelled like burning metal and something else, something sweet, like flowers. He stepped over broken pieces of equipment and moved deeper into the vessel. That was when he found her. She lay on the floor near what looked like a control panel. Her skin was pale blue, almost like the sky on a clear day. Her hair was long and white, spread around her head like a halo. She wore clothes made of silver fabric that seemed to glow even in the darkness. But what caught Ho's attention was the wound in her side. Silver blood poured from a deep cut, pooling on the floor around her. She was dying. Her eyes opened when she heard him approach. They were large and purple, filled with pain and fear. She tried to speak, but only a weak sound came from her lips. Ho lowered his rifle. He had killed many soldiers in this war. He had watched his friends die because of them. He had every reason to walk away and let this alien die alone. But he did not move. There was something in her eyes that stopped him. She looked young, maybe his age in human years, and she was scared. She was so scared. He knelt beside her and looked at the wound. It was bad, very bad. She had lost too much blood and her breathing was getting weaker. Without help, she would die in minutes. Ho pulled off his pack and searched for his medical kit. He found bandages and medicine, but none of it would help her. Her body was different from humans. He did not know what would heal her and what would kill her. The alien reached up and touched his arm. Her hand was cold. She said something in her language, her voice barely a whisper. He did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. "Please help me." Ho made a decision that would change his life forever. He remembered something from his training. Years ago, scientists had discovered that human blood could sometimes help in emergencies. The two species were different, but there was something in human blood that could give strength when they were close to death. It was dangerous and unpredictable, but it sometimes worked. He pulled out his knife and looked at the blade. Then he looked at her dying face. He thought about his family back on Earth. He thought about everything he had lost in this war. Then he cut his palm. Red blood flowed from the wound. The alien watched with wide eyes as he pressed his bleeding hand against her wound. The blood mixed together, red and silver, and something strange happened. Her body began to glow. A soft light spread from where their blood met, moving through her veins like rivers of gold. She gasped and her back arched off the floor. Ho held her down, afraid that he had made a terrible mistake. The light grew brighter. The air around them became warm, then hot. Ho felt something pulling at his chest, like invisible hands reaching into his heart. For a moment he could not breathe. For a moment he thought he would die. Then everything stopped. The alien lay still, her eyes closed. The wound in her side had stopped bleeding. The silver blood had turned dark where it mixed with his red blood, forming something new, something different. Ho sat back and tried to understand what had just happened. His hand hurt where he had cut it, but the pain felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. He felt strange. He felt connected to something that had not existed before. The alien opened her eyes. They were different now. The purple color had changed, with small spots of red mixed in like stars in a violet sky. She looked at him with an expression he could not read. Then she spoke, and this time he understood her words perfectly. "What have you done?" she asked. Ho did not have an answer. He only knew that when he saved her life, something had changed. Something had broken and something new had been built in its place. "My name is Ho," he said. "I am a human soldier." She sat up slowly, touching the place where her wound had been. The skin was smooth now, completely healed. She looked at him with those strange new eyes. "I am," she said, "Princess of the Empire, and you have made a bond that cannot be broken." Outside, the sounds of battle continued. But inside the crashed ship, two enemies sat together in silence, connected by blood and something much deeper. Neither of them knew what would come next. But Ho had a feeling that his life would never be the same again. Stood on legs that should not have been able to hold her weight. Just minutes ago, she had been dying on the floor of her crashed ship. Now she felt stronger than ever before. But something was different. Something was very different. She could feel him. Not just see him or hear him. She could feel Ho like he was part of her own body. When he breathed, she felt the air in her own lungs. When his heart beat, she felt it echo in her chest. It was the strangest feeling she had ever experienced. "What is happening to me?" she asked, more to herself than to him. Ho watched her with careful eyes. He kept his rifle close, but he had not pointed it at her since she woke up. "I do not know," he said. "I only did what I thought might save you." Looked at her hands. Her skin was still blue, but there was something new under the surface. She could see thin lines of red running through her veins, mixing with her silver blood. Human blood, his blood. "The blood bond," she whispered. The words came from old stories, tales her grandmother had told her when she was a child. She never thought they were real. "The what?" Ho asked. Turned to face him. In the dim light of her broken ship, he looked tired and dirty. His uniform was torn and there was blood on his hands. His blood. He had cut himself to save her, an enemy he had never met before. "Long ago, my people believed that blood carried the soul," she explained. "When two beings mix their blood in a moment of life and death, their souls become connected. It is called the blood bond." Ho's face showed confusion. "That sounds like a fairy tale." "I thought so too," admitted. "But I can feel you, human. I can feel your heartbeat. I can sense your emotions. Right now you are scared. You are confused. And underneath all of that you are hungry." Ho's eyes went wide. "How do you know that?" "Because I feel it too," pressed her hand against her chest. "Your feelings are my feelings now. We are connected." The human soldier took a step back. Fear crossed his face, and felt that fear inside herself like a cold wind. It was strange to feel someone else's emotions so clearly. It made her feel less alone than she had ever felt in her life. "This is not possible," Ho said. "We are enemies. Your people have killed thousands of humans. My people have killed thousands of yours. We cannot be connected." Understood his fear. The war between their peoples had caused so much pain on both sides. She had lost her mother in a human attack 2 years ago. The memory still hurt like a fresh wound. But now, standing in front of this human who had saved her life, she could not find the hatred she expected to feel. All she felt was the strange warmth of their connection. I did not ask for this either, she said softly. But it has happened. We must deal with it. Outside the ship, the sounds of battle had faded. The night had grown quiet, except for the distant rumble of thunder. Ho walked to the broken door and looked out at the ruined landscape. My rescue ship comes at dawn, he said. I need to get to the extraction point. Felt a sudden spike of panic in her chest. It took her a moment to realize that the panic was not her own. It was his. He was afraid of leaving her. He was afraid of what would happen if he tried to walk away. You feel it too, she said, the pull. Ho did not answer, but she saw his shoulders tense, and she knew she was right. In the old stories, continued, those who shared the blood bond could not be separated. If they tried to move too far from each other, they would feel great pain. Some even died. That is not possible. Ho's voice was hard, but she felt the doubt underneath. Blood cannot do such things. Human blood can do many things my people do not understand, said. That is why your kind is so feared. Your bodies are strange and powerful. Your blood carries something special. She walked toward him slowly, and with each step she felt the connection grow stronger. When she stood beside him at the door, looking out at the same dark sky, she felt almost peaceful. I am sorry, she said. Ho looked at her. For what? For the war, for the death, for everything my people have done to yours. She met his eyes. I am a princess, but I have no power to stop the fighting. I was running away when my ship was shot down. I wanted to find a place where the war could not reach me. She felt surprise flow through the bond. He had not expected her to say that. Why were you running? He asked. Looked away. My father wants me to marry a general, a powerful man who leads our armies. He believes it will help win the war. But I do not want to be a prize given to a soldier. I do not want my children to be raised for battle. Ho was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was softer than before. I had a sister, he said. She was killed in the first year of the war, a bombing raid. She was only 16. Felt his pain through the bond. It was old pain, carried for a long time, but it still cut deep. She wanted to reach out and touch him to offer comfort, but she did not know if he would accept it. I am sorry, she said again. The words felt weak, but they were all she had. They stood together in silence, two enemies connected by something neither of them understood. The night grew colder and began to shiver. Her thin clothes were not made for this weather. Without a word, Ho took off his jacket and put it around her shoulders. The fabric was rough and smelled like smoke and sweat, but it was warm. She felt his kindness through the bond, a small light in the darkness of his grief. We should find shelter, he said. It is not safe to stay in the ship. Nodded, she followed him out into the night, stepping carefully over the broken ground. Every few steps, she felt a gentle pull toward him, like an invisible rope connecting their hearts. They found a small building that was still mostly standing. Ho checked it for danger before letting her enter. Inside, they found a room with walls and a roof, protected from the wind. Ho sat against one wall and sat against the other. They watched each other across the small space, neither one willing to sleep first. What happens now? Ho asked. Did not know. She only knew that her life had changed forever. She had been saved by a human, and now their souls were bound together. Whatever came next, they would face it together, whether they wanted to or not. Now we wait, she said, and we see what the morning brings. But deep in her heart already knew one thing for certain. She could not let this human go. The bond would not allow it. And even if it did, she was not sure she would want him to leave. That thought scared her more than anything else. The rescue ship came at dawn, just as Ho had said. He heard the sound of engines before he saw the vessel dropping through the clouds. It was a human military transport, gray and ugly compared to this elegant ship, but it meant safety. It meant home. He stood up and looked at. She had not slept all night, and neither had he. They had spent the hours in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. But the bond between them had grown stronger with every passing minute. He could feel her sadness like a weight on his chest. "That is my ride," he said. Nodded slowly. "I know." He should have felt happy. He was going home. The war was not over, but at least he would be far from this planet, far from the fighting. He could see his father again. He could eat real food and sleep in a real bed. But when he took a step toward the door, pain exploded in his head. It was not like any pain he had felt before. It was deep and burning, starting in his chest and spreading outward like fire. He gasped and fell to his knees, his hands pressing against his skull. Across the room cried out. She was feeling the same pain. Her face twisted in agony, and silver tears ran down her blue cheeks. "Stop," she gasped. "Do not move away from me." Ho forced himself to breathe. He crawled back toward her, and with each inch of ground he covered, the pain grew weaker. When he was close to her again, it faded to a dull ache. "The bond," said, her voice shaking. "I told you, we cannot be separated." Ho wanted to scream. He wanted to curse the universe for putting him in this situation. He had saved her life, and now he was trapped, forever connected to an alien princess from an enemy empire. "There has to be a way to break it," he said. Shook her head. "In all the old stories, the bond lasts until death. There is no cure, there is no escape." Outside, the rescue ship was landing. Ho could hear the shouts of soldiers calling his name. They had probably seen the crashed alien vessel and were searching for survivors. "Sergeant Ho," a voice called, "are you alive?" He had to make a choice. He could stay here with and explain the situation to his commanders, or he could try to leave and hope the pain would not kill him. But he already knew what would happen if he tried to leave. The pain had been terrible, and he had only taken one step. What would happen if he got on that ship and flew away? Would he die? Would she die? He could not take that risk. "I am here," he shouted back, "but I am not alone." The soldiers found them a few minutes later. They burst through the door with weapons ready, expecting to find enemies. Instead, they found their sergeant sitting beside a woman, both of them looking exhausted and scared. "What is going on?" the squad leader asked. His name was Dong, and Ho had served with him for 2 years. "Why are you with the enemy?" "It is complicated," Ho said. "She is a princess. I saved her life, and now we are connected. I cannot leave her." Dong looked at him like he had lost his mind. "Connected? What does that mean?" Ho tried to explain. He told them about the crashed ship, the dying princess, and the blood bond. He told them about the pain he felt when he tried to walk away. He told them everything. When he finished, Dong's face was hard. "This sounds like alien magic. She has put a spell on you." "It is not a spell," said. Her voice was quiet but firm. "It is biology. Your sergeant's blood mixed with mine and created something new. I did not choose this any more than he did." The soldiers did not trust her. Ho could feel their hatred, their suspicion. These men had lost friends in the war. They had every reason to want dead. "We should kill her," one of them said. She is the enemy." Ho stood up quickly. "If you kill her, you kill me too. The bond works both ways. Her death would be my death." That made them pause. They looked at each other, unsure what to do. Dong spoke into his radio, calling for orders from the commanding officers. The wait was long and tense. Stood close to Ho, close enough that the bond felt comfortable. He could sense her fear, but also her determination. She was not going to show weakness in front of these humans who wanted her dead. Finally, Dong got his answer. "Command says to bring both of you to the base. The doctors want to study the bond. They want to understand what happened." Ho nodded. It was better than death, at least for now. They took hands and tied them together. She did not resist. She walked beside Ho as they made their way to the rescue ship, her head held high despite the ropes around her wrists. On the ship, the soldiers kept their distance from her. They watched her like she was a dangerous animal, ready to attack at any moment. But she just sat quietly, her eyes closed, her breathing slow and steady. Ho sat beside her. He could feel her heartbeat through the bond, calm and regular. She was stronger than she looked. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I did not mean for this to happen." She opened her eyes and looked at him, those purple and red eyes that still surprised him every time. "You saved my life," she said. "I cannot be angry at you for that. But now you are a prisoner." "I was already a prisoner," she said. "In my father's palace I was trapped by duty and expectation. At least here I am trapped by something real, something I can touch." She moved her tied hands to rest on his arm. The contact sent a warm feeling through the bond, like sunlight on a cold day. It was strange how quickly he had become used to this connection. It was strange how much he did not want it to end. "What will happen to us?" she asked. Ho looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. Somewhere out there was her home. And somewhere between them was their future, uncertain and dangerous. "I do not know," he admitted. "But whatever happens, we face it together. The bond will not let us do anything else." Smiled just a little. "Is that a promise, human soldier?" Ho felt something shift in his chest. Not pain, but something else. Something warm. He did not have a name for it yet, but he thought he might learn to like it. "It is a promise," he said, "Princess." The ship flew higher, leaving the ruined planet behind. And for the first time since the war began, Ho felt like he was flying towards something instead of running away. He just hoped they would both survive long enough to find out what that something was. The human military base was cold and gray. They put in a room with white walls and bright lights, where doctors and scientists came to study her every day. They took her blood, scanned her body, and asked her endless questions about the bond. Ho was never far away. The bond would not allow it. When the doctors tried to move her to a different building, both of them collapsed in pain. After that, the humans gave them rooms next to each other, with a door between that was never locked. 2 weeks passed, then 3. The war continued outside, but inside the base, Ho and lived in a strange kind of peace. They ate meals together, talked for hours, and slowly learned about each other's worlds. But was hiding something. Ho could feel it through the bond. There was a secret buried deep in her heart, something she was afraid to share. He waited for her to tell him, but the days went by and she stayed silent. One night he finally asked. They were sitting in her room, playing a card game she had taught him. It was a game with strange rules, but Ho was starting to understand it. He had just won his first round when he put down the cards and looked at her. "What are you hiding from me?" His hands froze over her cards. He felt a spike of panic through the bond, followed by a wave of guilt. She could not hide her emotions from him, and she knew it. "I'm not hiding anything," she said, but the lie hung in the air between them, obvious and weak. He said her name gently, the way he had learned she liked. "We are connected. I feel what you feel. I know there is something you are not telling me." She was silent for a long moment. Her purple eyes looked down at the cards, at the table, at anything but his face. He waited, giving her time to find the words. Finally she spoke. "My people are dying." The words hit him like a punch to the chest, not because of their meaning but because of the pain behind them. Through the bond, he felt her grief, her fear, her desperate hope. It was almost too much to bear. "What do you mean?" he asked. Stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars were bright against the dark sky. She pressed her hand against the glass, and her reflection stared back at her like a ghost. "For the past 100 years, our birth rates have fallen. Fewer and fewer children are born each generation. Our scientists have studied the problem, but they cannot solve it. At this rate, we will be extinct within 200 years. Ho felt the weight of her words settle over him. A whole species, dying slowly across the centuries. It was hard to imagine. "That is why your father started the war," he realized. "He is looking for a solution." Nodded slowly. He believes that if we conquer enough planets, we will find something that can save us. A medicine, a technology, something. She paused. But we already found it. 50 years ago, we found the answer. Ho's heart beat faster. He already knew what she was going to say. He could feel it building in her mind through the bond, the truth she had been carrying alone for so long. Humans, she whispered, human blood. The room fell silent. Outside, the wind blew against the window, but neither of them heard it. Human blood carries something special, continued. A genetic marker that does not exist in any other species we have found. When mixed with blood, it can restore our fertility. It can save our people. Ho stood up, his mind racing. If that is true, why did the war start? Why did your people not ask for help? Turned to face him. Her eyes were wet with silver tears. Because the process requires willing donors. The blood must be given freely with full knowledge of its purpose. Blood taken by force does not work. It loses its power. Understanding hit him like a wave. The blood he had given her had been freely given, offered to save her life without any thought of reward. That was why the bond had formed. That was why it was so strong. I am not just your blood bonded, he said slowly. I am the key to saving your entire species. Nodded. The guilt inside her was so strong that Ho could barely breathe. She had known this from the beginning. She had known what his blood meant, what it could do, and she had said nothing. That is why I cannot let you go, she said. Not because of the bond, because if you leave, my people lose their only hope. You are the first human to give blood freely to you are proof that it works. Ho sat back down. His legs felt weak, and his mind was spinning with questions. How many humans would need to donate? What would it mean for both species? Could they really end a war that had cost so many lives? Why did you not tell me sooner? He asked. Because I was afraid. His voice broke. I was afraid you would hate me. I was afraid you would think I used you, that I tricked you into saving me. I was afraid of losing the only person who has ever treated me like something other than a princess. Through the bond, Ho felt her fear and her loneliness. He felt the years she had spent in her father's palace, surrounded by people who wanted her power but never her heart. He felt how much their connection meant to her, how she treasured every moment they spent together. He stood up and walked toward her. She watched him with wide eyes, uncertain and scared. When he reached her, he took her hands in his. I do not hate you, he said. I could never hate you. She let out a breath she did not know she was holding. Her tears fell faster and she made no effort to stop them. Truly. Truly? He squeezed her hands gently. You should have told me sooner, but I understand why you did not. This is a heavy secret to carry. What do we do now? She asked. Ho thought about the war. He thought about all the death on both sides, all the pain and hatred. He thought about his sister, killed by bombs. He thought about the soldiers on this base who wanted dead. But he also thought about the future. A future where humans and work together instead of fighting. A future where both species could survive and grow. Now we tell the truth, he said. We tell everyone. The human commanders, the emperor, everyone. We show them that peace is possible, that cooperation can save lives on both sides. Looked at him with hope and fear mixed together. They will not believe us. They will think it is a trick. Then we will prove it to them. Ho smiled, and through the bond, he sent her all the confidence he could gather. I am a simple soldier, but you are a princess. Together, we can make them listen. She smiled back, and for the first time since he met her, the smile reached her eyes. Together, she repeated. I like the sound of that. Outside, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the struggles of the tiny creatures below. But inside that room, two beings from different worlds made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. They just had to survive long enough to see it through. The conference room was filled with the most powerful people in the galaxy. On one side sat the human leaders, generals and admirals who had spent years fighting the. On the other side sat the delegation, led by Emperor One himself, his father. Ho stood in the middle, feeling very small. He was just a sergeant, a simple soldier who had never expected to stand before kings and commanders, but stood beside him, her hand touching his arm, and through the bond he felt her strength. They had worked for months to make this meeting happen, had sent messages to her father, explaining everything about the blood bond and the truth about human blood. At first, the emperor had not believed her. He thought she had been captured and was being forced to lie. But she kept sending messages. She sent scientific data from the human doctors who had studied them. She sent recordings of herself and Ho, showing the bond in action. Slowly, the emperor began to understand that his daughter was telling the truth. The humans had been even harder to convince. The generals did not trust the. They thought it was a trick, a plan to steal human blood by force. Many of them wanted to continue the war until they were completely destroyed. But Ho had spoken to them. He had told them about her kindness and her courage. He had shown them what it meant to be connected to someone from another species, to feel their joy and pain as your own. In the end, both sides agreed to one meeting, one chance to find peace. Now that meeting was happening, and the fate of two species hung in the balance. Emperor One looked at his daughter with cold eyes. He was a tall man with dark blue skin and white hair, dressed in robes of silver and gold. His face showed no emotion, but Ho could see the tension in his shoulders. "You have been gone for 6 months," the emperor said. "I sent ships to find you. I sent soldiers to rescue you, and all this time you were with the humans." "I was not a prisoner," father replied. "I chose to stay, I chose to learn, and I chose to bring you the truth." She stepped forward, leaving Ho's side. The distance between them sent a dull ache through his chest, but he let her go. This was her moment. This was what she had been preparing for. "Our people are dying," she said, her voice ringing clear in the silent room. "Every year fewer children are born. Every generation our numbers grow smaller. In 200 years there will be no left in the galaxy." The human leaders shifted in their seats. Some of them had not known this. They looked at each other with surprise and confusion. "But there is hope," continued. "Human blood can save us. Not blood taken by force, but blood given freely. When a human chooses to help us, when they give their blood with a willing heart, it can restore what we have lost." She held up her hand, showing the red lines that ran through her veins. "I am proof. The human soldier Ho gave me his blood to save my life. He did not know what it would do. He only knew that I was dying and he wanted to help. That single act of kindness changed my body. It created the bond between us, and it proved that our scientists were right." Emperor One leaned forward. "Are you saying that if humans agree to help us willingly, we can survive?" "Yes, father, but not through war, not through conquest, only through peace." The room erupted into noise. The generals argued with each other. The admirals shouted questions. The delegates whispered in rapid voices that Ho could not understand, but stood calm in the center of the storm. She waited until the noise died down, then spoke again. "I know that trust is hard. Our peoples have been killing each other for years. We have all lost family and friends. We have all suffered." She looked at Ho, and through the bond he felt her love. It surprised him how strong it had grown. "But I have lived with a human for 6 months. I have felt his heart beating alongside mine. I know that they are not monsters. They are people just like us." She turned to face both sides of the room. "The war has given us nothing but death. Peace can give us life. The choice is yours." Silence fell again. Ho felt his heart pounding. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. If the leaders rejected peace, the war would continue. More people would die on both sides. Then slowly, Emperor One stood up. He walked toward his daughter, his steps heavy with the weight of years. When he reached her, he looked down at her face with an expression that Ho could not read. "You look different," the emperor said quietly. "Not just your eyes, your spirit has changed." I have found something worth fighting for, replied. Something better than war. For a long moment, father and daughter stared at each other. Then, to everyone's surprise, the emperor pulled her into an embrace. He held her tightly, and when he spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. I thought I had lost you forever. I thought you were dead or suffering, and now you stand before me stronger than I have ever seen you. He pulled back and looked at Ho. You, human soldier, you saved my daughter's life. Ho straightened his shoulders. Yes, sir, I did. Why? The emperor asked. She was your enemy. You had no reason to help her. Ho thought about that question. He had asked himself the same thing many times over the past months, and he had finally found an answer. Because she was dying, he said simply, and because I could help, that was enough. The emperor studied him for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. Perhaps humans are not what I believed them to be. He turned to face the room. I have spent my life fighting to save our people. I have made terrible choices in the name of survival. I have ordered attacks that killed thousands of innocent beings. His voice grew heavy. I did it because I thought there was no other way, but my daughter has shown me that I was wrong. He looked at the human leaders. I propose a truce. Not peace, not yet, but a pause. A chance to explore this new possibility. Let us test what Princess has discovered. Let us see if willing cooperation can truly save both our peoples. The human admiral in charge stood up slowly. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had lost her son in the war, Ho knew. She had every reason to want revenge. But she looked at Ho and standing together, their bond visible in the way they moved and breathed. And something in her face softened. We accept the truce, she said. We will test this theory, but if this is a trick, if you betray us, the war will return worse than before. It is no trick, Emperor One said. You have my word. The room began to buzz with activity. Delegates from both sides started talking, making plans, working out details. History was being made in real time. Ho and slipped away from the chaos. They found a quiet balcony overlooking the stars, and they stood there together, watching the lights flicker in the endless darkness. We did it, whispered. We actually did it. Ho nodded. He felt tired but happy, a strange mix of emotions that flowed through the bond and doubled in strength. There is still a long way to go. The truce is just the beginning. I know, turned to face him. But whatever comes next, we face it together. The bond will not let us do anything else. He smiled. Is that still the only reason you are staying with me? Because the bond forces you to. She looked at him with those purple and red eyes that he had grown to love. No, she said softly. I stay because I want to. Because you showed me that kindness can exist between enemies. Because you gave me hope when I had none. She reached up and touched his face. Her hand was warm now, filled with the heat of their shared blood. I stay because I love you, Ho, human soldier, blood-bonded partner. Ho felt his heart swell. Through the bond, he knew she felt the same thing he did. Love, pure and simple. It had grown slowly over months of shared meals and long talks, of pain and healing, of fear and courage. I love you too, he said. Princess, alien, the woman who changed my life. He kissed her under the stars, and the bond between them sang with joy. They had started as enemies, forced together by circumstance and blood, but they had become something more, something neither of them had expected. They had become home to each other. And that was worth more than any galaxy.